Moments ago here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, hard impact into the turn one wall by Jeff Simmons in the ethanol car. Heavy contact at speed over 215 miles per hour. And this happening just moments ago here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Simmons helped out of his car by a safety crew and taken to the infield care center. Updates we're still waiting on. Again, this all happened just moments ago.
Welcome to Sports Center, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500.
And we welcome you to Sports Center at the Indianapolis 500 as our month-long coverage continues leading up to the 90th running of the greatest spectacle in racing. Along with our two expert commentators today, Scott Goodyear and Rusty Wallace, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us. And guys, just a moment ago, we saw another hard impact, second time of the month for Jeff Simmons in the ethanol car. What do you think might have happened?
Well, you know, you're trying to look for speed, and what I noticed just a few minutes ago is that he was running about 11th on the speed charts today, and he just ran a speed that would put him 8th on the speed charts of 225.2 miles an hour. So were they starting to trim the car out just a little bit too much and try to get the car going through the turn faster? Remains to be seen.
I think his confidence is going to be shaken right now, Jerry, tell you the truth. This is the second wreck he's had. It was a big wreck today, no doubt about that. I believe that it's going to be a tough one tomorrow when he's got to get out there and qualify.
All right, we're awaiting updates on his condition. He did step out of the car, as you saw just moments ago. Well, no surprise about the teams who have been fast this month of May, and let's start with the guy who's the quickest again today, Sam Hornish Jr.
You know, he sits back and he surprises no one because he was watching the Ganassi drivers go out there. Scott Dixon turned in a lap, and Sam was just standing on the wall. Then you saw him suit back up, sit back in the car, go out there and do a little bit of a simulated qualifying run. Very fast.
And Rusty, one of the big surprises today is Team Panther Racing. Last year's Indy 500 runner-up, Vitor Meira.
Vitor's been strong all week long, Jerry. He's looked solid to me, no mistakes, nothing's going wrong with his team. He's been in the top 10 all the time. I'm a big Vitor Meira fan. I believe he's got a great car and a solid foundation going on this month.
And how about Townsend Bell, the third member of the Vision racing team? Vision's been awfully quick, but now Townsend finding some pretty good speed.
Very impressive. This is a team that's just 2 years old, and when you think about it, all three drivers have been flirting in the top 10 all month. I think they have a great opportunity for qualifying, and Townsend Bell is just here just for the Indianapolis 500. He is a go-to guy. He sat in the car. Larry Curry says, I'm very impressed with him. He comes here every day to go fast.
Well, many in the garage area believe that Sam Hornish and Dan Wheldon are the guys to beat for the pole. But what do they think? Here's Marlo Klain.
When I've talked to you guys, I mean, both teams have pretty much said that, yeah, we think it's going to come down to us. Do you see anyone popping up at this point?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that, you know, there might not be somebody, because that's part of Indy. I mean, it's always the surprise factor, and you never know who's going to show up there. And everybody's out there kind of doing something different too. I think that you know, after the morning's practice, you'll have a real good idea of where, you know, everybody's at.
Yeah, I agree with what Sam says. I think, you know, you have to look at the way practice has gone so far, and it has been a Penske Ganassi kind of fight. And I'm pretty sure that one of the cars from that team is going to be on the pole, but there'll be some others that close the gap considerably, I think, for qualifying day.
Dan, knowing you certainly won't say if you guys have shown your hand at this point, but do you think the Penske guys have shown their hand at this point?
They always seem to get a little bit quicker come qualifying, so we expect them to go a little bit quicker than what they did in the practice leading into last week's pole day. So we think we have a number that we've got to aim for, and we'll just have to see if we can do it.
Sam, what's your opinion? Have they shown their hand?
I don't think that anybody's shown their full hand right now, so I think that it would be pretty surprising. I think even as you go through qualifying day, if there's a chance to go out there and do the rebumps and people, you know, going for their, you know, second or third time out there, I think things will even change as that goes along.
I think with the weather now staying somewhat more consistent than it's been, I think people are going to leave it as late as they possibly can. And knowing Roger, I mean, Roger is somebody that I think, you know, wants the pole very bad, because it does mean a lot. It means you've got probably one of the fastest cars in the world, because this track is very fast. And I think, though, being that Scott is first in line out of the contenders, I think he'll set the stage. But I'm pretty sure that the pole won't be set till pretty late in the day.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Jerry, back to you.
All right, thank you, Marlo. Now, Scott, how much speed can Dan Wheldon save for pole day and still be comfortable enough to know what the car will do when he does push the button to go out to qualify?
Well, I think Danny Wheldon's been holding a little bit back. You know, he's up to about 4th right now today, and I think that he really wants to be on the pole. He says he's more interested in the race, but I think the pole is a lot of prestige going on right now. Andy Brown, the super engineer, ironically was actually Sam Hornish's engineer when he won the 2 championships. He's now the engineer for Danny Wheldon over at the Target Chip Ganassi team, and I think that they're going to have a few things to answer the Penske team when it comes time for qualifying on Saturday morning.
And Rusty, these Penske guys are known for not showing their hands too much early. Now, you know Roger Penske as well as anyone. Why is this pole at Indy so important to him?
This is a very important pole. The Indy 500 is everything in the world to him, Jerry. He always wants to come to Indy and be the fastest car out here. But I will tell you, we lost pole day the first day. Now it's getting crunch time. He can't afford to be playing games or showing their hands or not showing their hands. They need to lay the numbers on the board right now. Who's the fastest today before we qualify? And that's what they got to do. Now, I don't think Roger's going to play games right before qualifying.
All right, the obvious favorites in tomorrow's run for the pole drive for Team Penske and Target Ganassi. But where do some of the other drivers feel they'll wind up when pole day is done?
I don't think we're in the running for the pole. It'd be great to tell you we were, but hopefully we can get in the first three rows. That would be good. Certainly the first 2 rows would be happy with.
I think really if we're you know, the amount of focus and effort we put into race setup, if we're somewhere in the 2nd or 3rd row, we'll be ecstatic.
I think the best case for the whole team is if we could get 3 guys in the top 11, I'd be extremely happy, and I think that's what we're shooting for. We haven't concentrated too much on qualifying, so you know, really looking forward to the race.
All right, Scotty, aside from those Target and Penske guys we've been talking about so much, who is your sleeper to slide into the front row?
Well, you know, I'm going to have to say Scott Sharp, because here's a team that right now has been going fast without any effort. They have not been working on pole speed, but I think they will get a little bit greedy tomorrow morning where they want to turn up the wick and possibly go have a run for the front row. Scott Sharp has sat on the pole before. He was on the front row last year, and they might just look to try and get on the front row to add some of that prestige to the team if they can do it.
And Rusty, who do you think possibly could sneak into the top 3 on pole day?
Well, Jerry, I got to say, I really think that it's going to be Dario Franchitti. I think Dario can slip in that front row. I've watched him at a lot of racetracks this year. He's looked real strong. He's my pick.
Dario Franchitti was 5th quickest in the month of May. He has turned laps at over 226.9, but here the guys are chasing still at over 228 miles per hour. Well, yesterday afternoon here, it was a rough day for rookies. Arie Luyendyk Jr. spun just after the track opened, and Brazilian Tiago Medeiros, well, had a very hard lick late in the afternoon. Both these drivers had troubles. Luyendyk has been out. Medeiros hopefully will be back out on Sunday on bump day. We'll update them both when we return. And the raindrops are starting to come down right now as Little Al sitting in his race car waiting to go back out in these final minutes of practice here on Fast Friday, 1 day away from pole. The run for the pole less than 24 hours away.
Welcome back to Sports Center, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500.
Again, top story of the afternoon, 29-year-old Jeff Simmons out of Hartford, Connecticut, hard contact with a turn 1 wall. And the ethanol machine comes up across the racetrack at over 218 miles per hour. Simmons driving for Rahal Letterman Racing, his teammates Buddy Rice and Danica Patrick. Simmons able to step away from the car and was taken to the hospital. With more on Jeff Simmons, here's our Marlo Klain.
Jerry, in this short amount of time, he's already been actually released from the hospital. He's been cleared to drive, but I don't think he's going to miss that much track time this afternoon because it doesn't appear that they're going to get back out on the track because it is drizzling out here after he had that incident. It started to drizzle down here about 3 or 4 minutes ago, and now everybody has really climbed from their cars. As you can see, Dan Wheldon's out of his car, and Scott Dixon actually just climbed out of his car, too. Jerry, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Marlo. Good news that Jeff Simmons is going to be okay. Now, when the track opened yesterday, just after 4 o'clock, 24-year-old rookie driver Arie Luyendyk Jr.'s car spun exiting turn 1 and sustained some modest damage to the car. They replaced the gearbox and some suspension parts from that car, and the good news for him, he was back on the racetrack today. But not the same for this guy. Promising Brazilian rookie driver Tiago Medeiros, hard impact into the turn 1 wall. His car was not repairable, and his chances of making a qualifying run, well, seem to be in limbo.
It'll take a lot of hopes and prayers from a lot of our fans and friends out there. We're doing it all for them, too. I mean, we're going to try to put on the best show that we can. And, you know, hopefully we can be on the racetrack sometime on Sunday and get Tiago up to speed and see what we can do.
All right, guys, Paul Diatlovich, one of the most popular owners in the garage area. What does he do now, and where does all the help come from?
Well, he's going to get some parts from Fernandez Racing. It's the major part of the car, the tub as they call it, where all the other parts actually bolt onto it, the suspension pieces and the side pods and what have you. A lot of other help and assistance from other teams in the garage. Well, that's the nice thing about the Indianapolis 500. They want to see a good story come out of it, and I think Tiago Medeiros knows the incident that he got in the crash with, and he'll actually not have that situation again.
Russell, you know how guys sort of chip in together when a guy doesn't have quite the money to race, and they help a guy like Paul Diatlovich, who needs some help today.
Well, they all chip in and help. But one great thing about these cars right here, Jerry, is that they have a lot of pieces and parts that are common. They can go to another team and get a rear wing. They can get a side pod. And they get a lot of parts that are interchangeable to get this guy back on the track.
All right, good news that they're going to be back on the racetrack possibly on Sunday for Bump Day. Well, the IndyCar Series rules keep a tight rein on what you can and can't do to the bodywork. In essence, there are just 3 areas left for the teams to massage: the front wing end plates, the windscreen right in front of the driver, and the posts that hold the rear view mirror onto the side pod. Guys, to no one's surprise, Team Penske leads the way in mirror post innovation this year. Take a look. On the left side of your screen are the normal posts you see from Target Ganassi. On the right side, the newest innovation from Team Penske. Guys, now what does this do here? It looks almost like an airplane wing or a plate mounted on the side pod holding the mirror up.
And Doc, a lot of this has actually been done in the wind tunnel, where they take the car and they try different things and they put them pieces on the car and they see what actually helps deflect the air the best around the driver's cockpit onto the rear wing to help the downforce of this car and sometimes remove some drag. And Rusty, you've been Penske for so many years. You know the attention to detail that he has and how much money he spends. I imagine this is something they've been working on for quite some time.
I'll guarantee you, Scott, that he's been in the wind tunnel working like crazy on these mirrors, trying to find us an advantage somewhere that's going to make that car go quicker on Sunday. They're kind of peculiar looking, and it's got everybody looking at them. But I'll tell you what, if everybody thought they were as good as they are, these guys can make this stuff overnight, and they'd have them on their car also, and I haven't seen that yet.
And here's the neat part. It's almost like a secret agent kind of thing. When the car comes out of the garage, they dive over and they put blankets over the mirrors. They cover it up with mirrors so no one can see it. But there's a lot of work that goes into the wind tunnel, keeping these covered. And you see, as soon as the car comes in, you can count 1,001, 1,002. Boom, there go the blankets. They don't want anyone to get a photograph of. It's not the mirror, but it's the placement, I guess, of the mirror they're concerned about.
I think it's the inevitable. They know everybody's going to see what it's going to be. They're going to see the mirrors. They're going to see where they're placed. They're just trying to delay it. Well, they probably should have started a long time ago, because these pictures have been on the internet, even in Europe, all over the country.
You know, the interesting thing I know, I've talked to a few other teams, guys, and they say, you know something, we don't think there's that much actually in those mirrors. They think it's just a bit of a deflector to actually make people look at the mirrors instead of other things they've done on the car. So that's interesting, listening to other teams to see what their viewpoint is.
And they got little bitty portholes in the side of them covered in Lexan. They're pretty neat. It's definitely high tech coming from Penske Racing. Well, when we return, last year's pole sitter Tony Kanaan will take us along to meet some of his smallest fans at the Riley Children's Hospital here in Indianapolis. And as we step aside, you see the yellow flag being held aloft right now because of a brief rain shower following an impact by Jeff Simmons. We expect to be back to green very quickly here when we come back.
SportsCenter, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500. Brought to you by Weber, making the world a better place, one grill at a time.
And don't forget, SportsCenter at the Indianapolis 500. We'll be back here all next week. Join us Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. We'll have a complete wrap of pole day qualifying, and we'll run down the entire 33-car starting field for the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500. Last year's pole sitter Tony Kanaan, TK on the racetrack, trying to get this car up to speed.
Has been looking for a little bit of speed all month, and actually the same holds true today. He's 15th on the speed chart. Actually, there's no Andretti green cars in the top 10. Rusty, the closest guy is Marco Andretti, running 11th. I think that whole team is still searching for some speed.
Well, Scott, if there's any driver that's solid and get this thing in the field good, it's Tony Kanaan. He's been good all year long. He's one of those drivers that I look at as Mr. Stability. He's there all the time. The car always handles well. He's a well-prepared driver.
All right, well, each year the drivers look forward to a visit with their smallest and most loyal fans. In tonight's Daily Diary, Tony Kanaan takes us along on a visit to the Riley Children's Hospital.
Hey guys, this is Tony Kanaan, and today we came to visit the Riley Children's Hospital. It was a rainy day out there, and we tried to make a sunshine over here, so we're gonna make this kid's life better, hopefully.
High five.
Give me a high five.
High five.
With the other hand. All right, well then. Can I have one? Just one.
Okay.
All right, then give me that then.
Okay.
All right, cool. Say cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah. I brought you a picture. I'm not pretty, but the race car is pretty cool.
Who's the better looking guy in the picture?
Who's he?
It's him. Yeah. That's Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Myself, personally, didn't have a good day on the racetrack. I think when you come to a place like this, you definitely appreciate a lot about everything beyond racing and beyond anything. And this is about life. And the ones that we visited, they had heart problems. So hopefully they have their engine working perfect by the time they get out of here.
All right, thank you, Tony Kanaan. And Brian Herta was there, by the way. Guys, I know the drivers are always overwhelmed with so many requests, but it's those kind of visits that almost seem to help you guys as much as it does the kids.
You know, I think one of the most important things is an opportunity to go out and visit those kids at the hospital. And, you know, if you haven't gone very fast here throughout the day, sometimes you leave and you feel like you haven't done a good job or the world's against you, you're having all these problems. Well, I'll tell you what, you go over to the Riley Hospital and you visit these kids and you realize how lucky you are to do something that you really love. And I loved going to the Riley Hospital when I was here driving, Rusty, because it was just truly an opportunity to see how lucky we really are.
I totally agree with you, Scott. Going to those hospitals and visiting those kids is just fabulous. They look up to us and, hey, if we got some time like we always seem like we do at a racetrack with a lot of downtime and things like that, I love to go to things like that. Those are cool kids, and it really does help heal them, and they appreciate us coming by.
It's amazing. Your presence can put a smile on those kids' faces, and a lot of them don't have a whole lot in their lives to smile about. That's a special way to go to visit with these kids. Well, tomorrow the stars of IndyCar Series are poised to shine on pole day. When we return, we'll see what our experts think about their chances of being the fastest of the fast. On the racetrack, Michael Andretti coming back for his 15th Indianapolis 500. The Vonage car #1. Remember, he won the race a year ago as an owner with Dan Wheldon driving. He wants to go to victory lane and get that ceremonial sip of milk. Currently, Andretti 24th on the speed charts, just over 219 miles per hour.
Getting grilled. Brought to you by Weber. Making the world a better place, one grill at a time.
Well, Saturday is pole day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and ESPN is your home for all the action from 5 to 6 Eastern. We'll air the final hour of qualifying and the race for the pole. And then from 7 to 10 Eastern time, 3 hours of qualifying coverage comes your way in prime time. We'll have all the guys here to cover what happened in pole qualifying. Earlier today, a scary moment for Marty Roth. For the second time this month, Canadian driver Roth momentarily loses control of his car, but somehow saves it, has no contact with the wall whatsoever. Roth would move on and continue practicing for the afternoon. Again, he spun out last Friday in practice, didn't hit anything 2 times in the month of May, and he hasn't hit anything yet. Here's a look at the top 10 speeds of the month so far. Dan Wheldon is still atop the chart, 228.663. Hornish, Castroneves, Dixon, his partner, back in 4th spot. There's Franchitti, the best of the Andretti Green drivers in terms of speed. And there is Sharp, Matsura, Mira, and now Jeff Simmons, who had the incident earlier today in the ethanol car, showing as a 10th quickest overall here in the month of May. Now it's time to play a little game we call Fact or Fiction, where we grill our experts on some pole day possibilities. Okay, Scott, here's the first question. Danica Patrick will qualify in the top 10.
I'm going to have to say fiction. Is she capable? Absolutely. But I think here there's too many other driver-car combinations that are going to fill up the top 10, and they're having a difficult time with that Panos chassis. Rusty?
Scott, I'm definitely going to have to say fact. I think she could do it. She's flirting with the top 10 every time she goes out in practice, and she really wants to qualify good, and last year she was 4th, so I think she can definitely get it in there. fact.
Started inside row 2 a year ago. Where can she be this year? Now, how about question number 2? Marco Andretti will qualify higher than his father, Michael. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to have to say fiction. I think Michael's experience will play a big part here. Marco's inexperience will be the difficult thing for him. 4 laps you have to run here, 10 miles. I think it's going to be a tough job for him to do that. Rusty?
Scott, I'm going to have to say fact. I watched Marco outrun his dad all week long. Now, I hear you loud and clear about the experience, but Marco's been fast, and I believe he's going to out-qualify his father just because of what I've been seeing all week.
All right, number 3, fact or fiction. Winning the Indy 500 pole is more prestigious than winning the Daytona 500 pole.
I'm going to have to say a fact. The high speed, 230 miles an hour around here, 4 consecutive laps, 10 miles, a tougher job than is Daytona.
Scott, I got to agree with you. It's definitely a fact, only because it's a big event. It's a very prestigious event here at Indianapolis. They qualify the top 11. They lock them in the first day. And unlike Daytona, where they only lock in the top 2 cars, and the rest of them got to do it later.
The pole-winning average speed will be faster than 228 miles per hour. Fact or fiction?
I think it's a fact. I think that both Penske and Ganassi are holding just a little bit back. We might see 230 mile an hour top speeds and 228 average.
I got to disagree with you, Scott. I think it's going to be fiction. It's going to be a couple degrees warmer tomorrow. I've only seen these guys flirt with 228, 227 a couple times, occasionally a 229, so fiction.
And finally, Sam Hornish Jr. Okay, guys, let's have put each of you on the spot. Who's your pick to win the pole here today? Okay, Scotty, what do you think?
Well, Doc, I know you think I'm crazy when I say this because Sam Hornish has been so fast all month, but I'm going to go with Elio Castroneves because in 2003, that great run that he did to put his car on pole in those really adverse weather conditions, I think that he just loves to showboat, and I think he's going to go out and pull something out of the hat.
Rusty?
Well, Scott, you surprised me, buddy. Unreal. Well, I think it's going to be Sam Hornish. Hornish has been on top of the boards all month long. He's looking great out there. I'm picking Hornish.
All right, Sam Hornish from Rusty Wallace and Elio Castroneves from Scott Goodyear. Guys, both of you going with the guys from Team Penske. Nobody giving any love to Target Ganassi Racing? Yeah. All right, I think Dan Wheldon's got a great shot. I got to give a call to Wheldon and Dixon. Those guys are going to be a factor on pole day. On the racetrack, looking at Michael Andretti. What about Michael coming back for his 15th year at Indianapolis? He may not be a factor for pole day, but they are gearing up to be a very good team on race day for 500 miles.
I think as soon as they realized they came here, they did not have the go-fast goodies on their chassis to actually compete with Penske and Ganassi. I think, Rusty, what they did is they throttled back, as we call it, and they're now trying to get the car set up for the race. I think that is their focus. Maybe they will surprise us come race day.
Well, I agree with you, Scott. These guys need to focus right now on getting these cars handling well. If you can't get yourself in the front row qualifying, so what? They're not going to talk about you. They're going to talk about you a lot if you get handling good for the 500. So make doggone sure you got a good handling car and put all your focus right there.
Again, as you watch Michael Andretti on the racetrack, we'll reiterate one of the top stories today. This week came on the air, an incident in turn 1 involving Jeff Simmons and the ethanol car. Now, he had turned the 10th fastest lap of the month yesterday in practice, but today the car heavily damaged. He's been taken to the care center. Our Marlo Klain reports that he has been cleared to drive, and the big question mark is they'll have a car for him, but just how mentally prepared will he be? Here's his teammate, Danica Patrick, trying to get her car up to speed as the Ray Hall Letterman team continue their struggles.
You know, it's quite a shame for Jeff Simmons because those guys are running 10th, 11th, and 12th. Jeff Simmons had just moved himself up to 8th. The team is now finding some speed for tomorrow, but maybe just a little bit over the edge for Jeff Simmons, Doc.
Well, what about it, Rusty?
Well, I'll tell you what, I really do like the way Danica Patrick's looking. She's solid right now. She knows she doesn't have the fastest car. I watched her in practice. She looked really, really good. I still think she can get in the top 10, though, Jerry, in qualifying.
Well, we've had 8 consecutive days of rain, and finally today the suns came out, and so did the race cars. The final day of practice prior to the run for the pole. The checkered flag is waving, and now it's all time to go back and sit and think. The run for the pole is 24 hours away. Will it be Team Penske or Target Ganassi Racing? It's Indy, and history will verify anything can happen on pole day. We'll bring you all the coverage on Saturday and Sunday. So long, everyone.